Being a spiritual person and having this human experience can be really challenging at times, and especially when dealing with relationships, with triggering situations, with conflicts. And you probably would want to respond calmly in those situations. That's why you're practicing. That's why one of the reasons why you're practicing. And sometimes it's not as easy to behave in the exact way that you would want to. And that's why today I wanted to share with you the biggest shift in communication I personally experienced, and a method that can lead you to have the same shift and improve your response, your being calm in the situations when you are being triggered, amongst others. The way it looks like, you're probably consistently doing some meditation, creating some practices in your life, building in healthy habits so that you can be as peaceful and evolved as possible. And it looks like as if you were building this Jenga tower that is kind of relying on balance and precise alignment of things. And sometimes a person shows up in your life. It could be a close one, some person that you deal with on a daily basis, and maybe snaps at you. And this carefully built tower of balance, peace, and resilience that you've cultivated in your alone time gets completely collapsed, gets completely demolished in the fraction of a second. If you've experienced this, welcome to the club. It's just a human experience. But there are ways to go past this. And what does it mean when I say being triggered? It means as if you are charged with bullets, like you are a charged weapon. And those situations simply trigger the firing of something that's already in. This is an important distinction to create, an important background to build, because for you to be able to change those times, you need to really understand why is it happening, so that you maybe explode in those times when you're being triggered, or you withdraw. Whatever your reaction is like, it's being triggered by something very specific, and it's subjective only to you. You have to take a step back, a little bit into your past, or way back into your past, to understand this. When I say you're being charged like a weapon that's ready to explode or fire in those triggering situations, it means that you carry an internal wound. Some original wound, or core wound as I call it, that has happened way in your past, probably in your childhood, that created a sense of separation. A sense of separation between you and another person when that occurred. So an example of this could have been that you were rejected by a close one, maybe a parent, and it seemed like you were left alone. And it plays out in your today situation as if you're, for example, not being chosen. It's very likely that this pattern will keep reappearing in your life until you heal this energy. So you're not being chosen because of this original rejection wound. Another scenario could be that you were not feeling seen, that you were feeling ignored in your childhood. Maybe you had a sibling that was the preferred one and you were feeling a bit neglected. So in today's situation, it may present itself as if you are feeling not seen by your partner, or as if maybe they're neglecting you a little bit, as if they're detached from you and you are being left to yourself. And another scenario that's very common is feeling like you're treated unfairly. And there could be a time in your childhood that you felt that way. But today, the way it plays out, you may be triggered in those situations You feel you have to defend yourself constantly, as if you have to prove your point, and it takes so much energy that you become very defensive in those moments when it happens. It is important that you understand those past wounds, those original wounds, so that you're able to move past them. Universe literally presents you with this exact situations that give you the opportunity to resolve the initial inner conflict. Remember when I said the original wound starts with a sense of separation? This is an important thing to remember, because it makes us feel as if we are separate from another human being instead of being close to them. And resolving through that original wound will help us in those current relationships not create so much separation, and therefore decrease the suffering in your life. For me, even understanding the fact that the universe always gives me what I need to learn is somewhat comforting. Knowing in those challenging moments that through this difficult situation, I will actually be able to grow. Because it's not through the easy times, it's not through reading the self-help books that we grow the most. We grow the most through the challenges. And this happened in my life, and this probably happened in your life when you look back into your past and something challenging contributed to you evolving into who you are, into evolving into more of a whole person, someone who is more aware of everything that's going on. And that wouldn't be possible if that wasn't for the challenge that you endured. And remembering that this is a gift from universe, even if it's a little bit painful, it is very reassuring for me, because I can catch myself in the midst of some of the situation and really be grateful for this moment, which is a complete paradox of what you could expect to happen. Now that you understand a little bit about your original wound, I would like for you to take a moment to actually look back into what pattern has played out in your life. Because when you are able to see a little bit similar situations when you always have to defend yourself, or maybe always feel like you're being ignored, then it's a really good clue for you to know that it's a pattern of your life. And when you take a note of this, you will be able to predict with some accuracy what is it going to likely look like next time when you clash with another person. Actually, the awareness of your own internal patterns could be a step one in this whole game. When you are able to tell, well, I tend to have this situation happen to me frequently or with some frequency, but it's a pattern of events. Knowing this, you're able to create an intention for the next time it happens. And that brings me to the actual exercise, how you can do it. In the morning or in the mornings, because you know you have this tendency, write down in your journal if that's your practice, or even bring this to your mind. You have an intention to capture any situation that's alike your pattern, that is similar to your pattern, so that you program your brain to capture it. This is how we work. When we plant a seed that we want something to happen and we predict this, it's so much easier to capture this. This is one hack that I can teach you that has roots in neuroscience. It could look like you tell to yourself, whenever today I feel triggered or I feel challenged at work or I feel challenged by my partner, then I will want to act X, Y, Z. And if you do this in a calm moment, you will plant that seed for the future when you can catch this on the spot. The way you want to respond is really important to design. It's really important because there are some specific steps that any successful person in communication always follows those steps, and they rely on switching on certain parts of your nervous system that will allow you to create that moment, elongated moment of clarity that we usually miss when we are being triggered. Remember, when I say being triggered happens in a fraction of a second, it's because something's reminding us of the past original situation. And we assume a lot. We connect the dots in the way that it matches the past situation, and we burst out maybe, or we withdraw. Whatever is your reaction, this is what happens in a fraction of a second when you miss the clarity, when you miss the space of time and space in your mind where you can actually create a conscious, mindful, intentional response of your own. Not the one that was programmed in the past and you keep replaying over and over in the similar scenarios. So when you catch yourself in this very moment, you want to become very, very present, or as present as you can, as grounded as possible. And I have actually created a video with the specific steps how to become grounded. And one of the great ways to become grounded and present is by using your senses. When you are being triggered or challenged in any situation, you instantly go into fight-flight mode. In this fight-flight situation, you become separate from another human being. It feels like you're literally being threatened, that you have to fight or flight, and it means that you are moving away from another human being. This makes it impossible to resolve any conflict. Following the old pattern of behavior will get you even more separate from another human being. What you want to do is instantly deactivate your fight-flight mode through going into your senses. Now you can use your senses to create the opening, the moment of clarity for your wisdom to respond, to shine through. When you connect to your senses, what I mean by this, you can literally draw all your attention to how your feet stand on the floor, or when you're sitting down, the placement of connection to the chair or the sofa. Or you can rub your hands one against another and focusing really on very distinct sensations that you create. You will draw away all the energy from the activated fight-flight system, from the sympathetic nervous system, all the way to the place in your brain that has space for any sort of response. Now that you've connected through your senses, you deactivated your fight-flight mode, you've become present. You have the space to respond wisely. And this is a space for you to shine, as I'm saying. You can show empathy to another human being. You can understand that they're actually going through some level of pain if they're snapping at you. Or you can use this moment to reflect maybe about your own perception of the situation and ask yourself, what am I assuming about the situation that isn't there? What am I reading into the words of this person that is probably not even meant for him or her to communicate? But this is how I'm reading into this because of the old wound that makes similar situations being interpreted in the same exact, very painful way. So now that you can do all those things, you can respond in the way that you feel is the most aligned, the most mature. You can reach out to them and apologize even. Maybe you can acknowledge that you contributed to this situation. Or it could be that you express your feelings without accusing them. You can explain to that person that you feel a little bit hurt, that you feel like you're hurting through the situation and you want to understand their point of view. This is what you want to create. Instead of sense of separation, the fight-flight mode, you want to enhance the feeling of unity and oneness with another human being. This is the whole reason why you're doing all those practices, right? Doing meditation, practicing all the rituals or reading self-help books, so that we become closer to one another, that we create meaningful relationships. And for this to happen, you have to move away from creating and perpetuating that sense of separation. You can close this gap, you can bridge your way to another human being through showing up intentionally from the state of being present, grounded, calm, and non-reactive. And this happens through those simple steps that I can repeat for you right now, if you didn't catch them. So the first way is through gaining awareness of your original, your core wanting that is contributing to the pattern that keeps happening over and over in your life. To capture your tendency, how you feel in various situations in your life, and design a plan to use your intention to resolve, how to heal this and stop this from recurring. Learn from this. The way it happens is through setting intention, maybe even every morning. Whenever I see something similar starting to happen in my life, I want to become ultra present in this moment. I want to capture this whenever I sense this coming up with another person or in my life. And through going to your senses, through becoming present, you deactivate the fight-flight mode that makes you anxious, makes you want to separate, makes you want to distance yourself and react maybe by lashing out. And in the third step, you want to activate all that wisdom that you've accumulated through reading all the self-help books, through going into meditation practice, through working on yourself, and activate, use it, put it into action right now, that you have this opening, that you have this space that you didn't have when you are being triggered and reacting instantly. And whatever happens on a daily basis, if you don't succeed when the situation like that comes up and you're still being hijacked, going into your old pattern of reacting, like maybe lashing out or defending yourself, however that looks like, it doesn't matter. What matters that you go back and you can replay that situation in your mind and ask yourself again calmly, put an intention calmly that you would want to change it, as with the morning intention that you want to respond differently. Have compassion for yourself. Know that this pattern runs so deeply. It has been playing out through your life for maybe even decades by now. So be patient, and you don't have to get it perfect the first time. It will take some effort. It will take some consistency in showing up. But with that, with your willingness to change, you will change for sure. It's very satisfying when you start seeing the changes to happen in your life, when you start seeing how your inner change in response affects you. It heals your wounds, it heals the relationships, it helps the other person to heal and all of a sudden respond differently to you. They will also have a completely new experience of this situation, if that's maybe a close person in your life and they're used to your reacting in certain way, you will see so many benefits coming out from this very, very simple process that you wouldn't believe. Like I said, it's very satisfying. So please persevere, be using this, and I'll see you in the next video.